The USA Archery 2020 US Open is brought to you by True Ball and Excel and Matthews. Also brought to you by PSC Archery, Hoyt Archery, Black Eagle Arrows, and Elite. USA Archery 2020 US Open rolls on with another gold medal match here in Richmond, Virginia. This time, compound senior men. Greg White's sitting alongside Braden Gelantine, who has won multiple championships in his day. Too many to count. I think you'd break Wikipedia if you put all your stuff on there. But Braden, let's talk about the two shooters that have made it into this gold medal match. I mean, unbelievable heavy hitters just in the final four here in Richmond, Virginia. But our first competitor is going to be Rio Wilde, deep resume, shooting for Matthews. And his competitor will be Kris Schaff. Kris choosing to, yeah, he's going to be shooting first. Rio decided to put the pressure on Schaff. And Kris starts off with a solid 10. Braden, you were shooting against all these guys this week. I mean, the level of competition was incredible this weekend.
Yes, even with the COVID-reduced field, we saw the best of the best here this weekend and battled it out.
I mean, the thing was, when we get to the final four, deciding who's going to shoot for the gold medal, it was you, Schaff, Rio Wilde,
and James Lutz.
And I said to spectators looking on, can you count the amount of USA Archery National and World Championships and World Archery wins of you four? I mean, it was absolutely incredible, the depth of field.
It would be close to 150.
Unbelievable.
Very. Yeah, it was definitely a who's who of World Archery, USA Archery shooters.
So Rio Wilde with the first hiccup, shooting a 9. Schaff looking for a 30 to start things off. So Rio has got to stop the bleeding, and we say that often in compound senior men because getting a 1 or 2, look at the wind blowing Rio's rig around. Just trying to stabilize it out. Ooh, just off to the right.
That's still a heck of a shot considering what he was going through with that wind.
And you know what? That's just kind of luck of the draw sometimes. It depends on when you're shooting.
Right. Like when we had the qualification or the earlier matches, you got to pick when you shot. So a lot of times the archers were shooting at the peak optimal positions in the wind. But here, when you have 20 seconds to shoot, there's no real advantage, and you can definitely have a disadvantage if you get hit by a strong gust. So that within 20 seconds, you could be in trouble.
And I think the danger in that, if I'm thinking as a shooter, Braden, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think sometimes the danger in that is if you do get hung out like Rio did, that the next time you have a calm moment that you might want to dump the shot early.
You're definitely gonna your mind frame's gonna switch a little bit, and you're gonna try to be more aggressive. But Rio's been out here so long, and he's got so much experience with it that I think he's gonna probably get a little bit more aggressive, but not too aggressive. He's gonna be able to maintain that balance.
And if you've watched USA Archery US Open so far, you've seen that each archer that's been out in the other categories that we've had have had a coach in the coaching boxes, so someone standing behind helping them out. But Braden, in this particular case, Rio Wilde and Kris Schaff, who actually were sharing a hotel room to reduce cost this week, decided at the last minute that, well, they jokingly said to Rod Menzer, the main man for USA Archery, well, Rio said, well, Kris is going to be my coach, and Kris said, Rio's got to be my coach.
Right, these guys are great friends, and anytime you drag in an outside party to coach you, things can get weird. So it's best for their friendship to just have at it.
Hey, listen, you're friends with James Lutz. You had to shoot off for bronze. I mean, it's one of the things that's very interesting with archery, I think, is that you do develop friendships, and sometimes you find yourselves in a competitive situation. How do you deal with a situation like there?
James and I have a pretty good agreement with it. Like, we shot off a bunch of times, and it's just kind of like, hey, for the next 15 minutes, we aren't friends.
Gotcha. Yep.
But let's go get lunch after.
Yeah. Incredible. So Rio starts off with the 10. And as weird as this sounds, even though we have so many arrows remaining in this competition, Kris Schaff has just got to really just keep putting them in the middle to keep the pressure on Rio.
Right. Rio needs to keep plugging away 10s to just hope that Kris has a hiccup. But as you said, if Kris just cleans out 10s, there's nothing Rio can do at this point. There's a 9 outright.
Oh, but now Kris is falling victim to a gust with 13 seconds remaining on the shot clock.
And you can see that Kris's bubble's right in the middle, so he's definitely more of the aim-off variety of how to deal with the wind. There's the first 9 for Kris on the top.
Yeah.
So he got the wind right, he just got bounced up a little high on the execution.
So right-hand part of your screen is the actual scope that Rio's looking through, and at the bottom of that scope is a bubble level, just like you'd find on a tool in the house where you're trying to level things off. And so that's what
good 10 from Rio.
Braden's talking about, so that's good. So Kris.
He's a 10 here to keep his 2-point lead. Good shot. Yep, there it is.
Shot. So that'll score that. 29 apiece as a good kind of stop the bleeding shot from Kris Schaff. Will maintain his 2-point lead.
This is a really interesting dynamic here with the wind and the match play, because I think that both archers have their own advantages and strengths. Like Rio is probably the better of the wind shooters between himself and Kris, but Kris has got an amazing mind for match play and he's super strong. So it should be balanced, it should be tight, it should be a really good match.
And of course, let's talk about these two and yourself, USA Archery team that represents World Archery when things get rolling again, obviously with World Archery. You three are on the team. You're the team that gets to go travel around in these competitions. What is that like, and how did the three of you, plus the other athletes, get to the USA Archery national team?
So to qualify for the national team and the World Cup team, we have 5 events throughout the year, 4 USATs plus nationals. And we count your best 4 of the 5 events, and you collect points off of qualification, off of matches, and off of your quality of matches. And at the end of the year, all of the points are tallied, and top 4 get to represent the USA.
Quite an incredible honor, and I know the three of you guys, you know, have won so many matches and get to shoot team matches, which we didn't get to shoot this weekend. Normally we do, but we didn't because of the restrictions of social distancing and wanting to have this competition without the risk of spreading the virus. So
this should be a 10 here for Rio.
For those that have seen Rio Wilde shoot in the past, he's got a much different stabilizer
Yep,
setup.
Good.
And a great shot. Still, he's hanging out a little bit to the right, though.
Hanging on the right. But in the wind, we call that the pro side here.
Is that right?
If you fire one downwind, it never had a chance. But if you fire it upwind, it's always got a chance of catching.
Oof.
But yeah, the wind seems to have died down right now. The archers are able to pick their spots on the target and execute strong shots.
A little bit of English at the end of that shot for Rio Wilde.
Just a little high right. He had a bob on his sight right as that fired. So it hit right behind the pin. He knew the moment it broke.
Can Rio capitalize?
Got a little bit of wind on him, but strong shot, right side 10.
All right, so Rio at least gets a point back.
Right, so this is where having a coach in your box, it would be a big advantage. You'd have an extra mind, an extra pair of eyes on your sight, on your arrow impact. Oh, what a shot from Kris. So now we're down to 1 point, 6 arrows left, 2 ends.
Yeah, and I mean, from our vantage point too, that was right in the middle of a gust for Kris Schaff.
Kris aims so well, it's kind of impressive.
Montana boy. I have to imagine, being from Montana, he would probably experience some wind in practice. Now, I compete, as you know, I'm a fan of archery, but when I practice for 50-meter competitions, where I can practice is actually shielded in the woods, so I don't often have an opportunity to practice in the wind. Where you get to practice, what does your field look like? Is it similar to how we shoot out in the open, or do you have a shielded area?
So I have 2 fields available. One is kind of open like this, and the other is shielded. I would say I do 90% of my shooting on the shielded range. And I'm working on the tune of the bow, I'm working on my shot execution, I'm working on timing, aiming, all the things that I need, like a contained, consistent area to practice in. But then the other 10%, I'll go out and I'll let the wind beat me up and see how I manage to, keep within myself and make sure that the process and the shot are working under the worst of conditions. But you don't want to do most of your practice with that, because what you'll end up doing is breaking down your form.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, after 3 ends, we're going to 5 of competition. Rio Wilde, 1 point behind Kris Schaff. 87 to 88 points. It's the gold medal match for the compound senior men. We're shooting 50 meters, or about 54.7 yards from where the archer is standing to the target. It's an 80-centimeter face. 3 arrows, maximum points allowed per end is going to be 30 points each. 10 points per arrow as Rio sends it into the X-ring, which scores 10 points, maximum value. And that's all Rio can do at this point, is just throw 10s downrange and hope Kris is going to have a mistake.
Right. You can see that was a really clean shot. The follow through was dead straight. Looked confident.
Five seconds on that shot clock. And off to the left, so a 9 for Rio Wilde.
Good shot from Kris. What a reply. He sees control of the match right there. Good shot from Rio. Good 10. He definitely feels comfortable on that right side of the 10. Kris looks steady. That should be low. Low right. Yep. You can see.
It's amazing. You can see that from what?
I just at the moment of firing, I could see like a little bit of movement in his bow and his sight, and you could see on his face it was a look of surprise and uh-oh.
So he had an opportunity, did Kris Schaff, to go up 2 points on Rio Wilde as Rio shot that 9 on the second arrow, but not to be in this one. They tie at 29 apiece.
And in this win, 1 point's nothing, so it's virtually a dead heat.
Yeah, normally I think, right, if we have dead calm conditions,
right,
1 point at this level with these competitors could be like, oh, well, it's not good. But in this wind, anything's possible. So we head into the 5th end of competition with Kris Schaff 1 point over Rio Wilde, the possibility of tying.
It's there.
After the 5th end, and then we'd go to a 1 arrow closest to the center shoot-off. So I was mentioning before, for those people that have watched Rio Wilde shoot for many years, one of the distinguishing factors of Rio is the amount of weight that he would carry on his stabilizers. He's had a big change in the way he sets his bow up, his Matthews bow, in the last couple of weeks, I would say, maybe month, where he's reduced the amount of weight on the stabilizers, both front and rear. But if you'll notice, Braden, he's also moved it, he's got to a shorter back bar and moved that out to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds that it's a setup that he shot some years ago with some other bows that he found really successful. And so the one thing that's interesting about a shooter like Rio, Kris Schaff, I know you're the same way, is the constant tweaking and the constant working at just being better.
Yeah, he's making adjustments to the bar to change the way the bow's torquing in his hand and to change the tune of his arrow. So as you pull that bar out, you're going to be changing the knock flight of your arrow. So he's just kind of fine-tuning his tune to match his personal aim and his preferences. Oh, that was not how he wanted to start the end. That's a 10.
Yeah, that's how Kris wanted. So Rio with a 9, Kris Schaff with a 10, 2-point advantage, 2 arrows remaining in the gold medal match.
That was a good shot from Rio. So Kris can definitely seize control of the 10 here. Good shot.
And he caught the line.
Mm-hmm.
So
The wind's dying down right now. You can see the flags are barely moving, so it makes sense that that arrow impacted over there. Rio should finish up strong here.
He lets it go with 2 seconds on the clock. If he didn't get that off, if he waited 3 seconds, that would have been a 0. But he gets it off and he gets it into the X-ring. So now 4 gold.
Yep, just 9 just off right, but Kris with the 1-point win.
So that'll do it for Kris Schaff. With that 9 outright. The 2 friends shaking hands. After that one, they know the scores. We await official confirmation. But a close match. What do you think? 140 I think it's going to be downgraded to a 146.
Yeah, it's 146,
146,
145.
yeah, for Kris Schaff, but 146 in these tricky conditions. I mean, we started out with strong wind. There was some gusts here and there. Then all of a sudden the wind died.
Yeah, Kris shot great. It was really impressive to see him out there. He looked unflappable the entire time. His pin sat in the middle. He executed strong shots, and he kept his rhythm and his timing up, which is so important in these conditions, and it's really hard to do. And now we'll have Kris in the booth in a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll definitely have Kris in the booth in a few minutes. And, you know, it's not only Battle of Friends, but obviously Battle of Manufacturers here at USA Archery, you know, with live streaming, Cam bringing you all of this action. You know, there's pride on the line for these manufacturers as well. The old adage, what wins on Sunday, although Saturday in this case, sells on Monday. So as Kris Schaff and Wilde meander their way past our commentating position, there will be a reset downrange.
Right, we're moving to 70 meters for the recurves.
Yeah,
and 122 target faces.
Exciting, can't wait to see what's in store for us, especially on the women's side, as our number 8 and our number 6 seed in qualifying will be shooting for gold in women's recurve. But in the compound senior men, it was all Kris Schaff. Kris, congratulations. What a match for you. Tell us about it.
You know, the first stand I came out there, you know, shot a perfect 30 in that wind, and I was, you know, pretty excited about that. And then, you know, I knew pretty much the ones that I was going to miss, but just, you know, where the dot was in the wind, and it wasn't an easy match. You know, Rio stayed right there with me the whole way.
What about those last couple arrows? I mean, were you aware of what Rio was shooting? You know, I know that you guys didn't have a coach, so no one was calling arrows for you, but could you see down there, and did you know what you needed on that last arrow to seal the deal?
Yeah, I seen, I don't remember if it was his first arrow or second arrow go way wide right there. And, you know, I just kind of knew after I hit my first two, I was like, all right, just hold gold here, you know, tie him up on this end, and you know, you'll seal the deal.
Well, you're the 2020 US Open champion. What are you going to do to celebrate tonight?
I'm not too sure. Hopefully me and you are going out on the town.
Well, Kris, congratulations, man. It was really fun to watch, and enjoy this one.
Thank you.
All right, wind's still blowing here. There's so much more to come, especially if you are a fan of the Olympics and a fan of archery, as we're going to have the recurve senior women and recurve senior men down the pipe. Don't go anywhere as the USA Archery 2020 US Open continues from Richmond, Virginia.
Announcing the new patent-pending CarboFlax stabilizers. A biocomposite blend of carbon and flax. Flax plant yields a natural fiber with very advanced properties. Flax offers 3 times the vibration dampening of glass and 20% more than carbon. Natural composites are up to 15% lower weight than carbon fiber. TrueBall Excel. We make archery better.
If you're punching the clock between punching tags, chances are you know a thing or two about hard work. Because when you put in the time, you better get your money's worth. Boom! A new Hoyt Nitrix. This thing is tough as nails, and at 4.1 pounds, it's lighter than most Chihuahuas. And oh yeah, it also slings in air at 333 feet per second. It never gives an inch. It'll go against anything, Cape buffalo, white-tailed deer, elk, or snapping turtle, it don't matter. You want a bow you can drag through the mud and trust in your tree stand come bow season? This is your freezer filling, tag punching, season saving, all around go-to bow. And only your Hoyt dealers got it. This is the Hoyt Nitrix.
One chance, one moment, one shot.